Hi, I'm Bobby Halton, and we're on the road at FDIC 2008. Exciting conversation we're going to have over the next couple of minutes with my good friend Paul Dansbach. Paul, as you well know, is one of our technical editors, been on the advisory board for several years now doing editorial review on articles from engine company operations, fire marshal's office, code enforcement, kind of a go-to all-purpose player. Paul just recently participated in an activity on a new book, Firefighting Principles 1 and 2, which is going to be the brand new text out of Penwell, Fire Engineering, which is going to be a basics book, the first basics book ever done by Fire Engineering Publishing. And Paul's one of our contributing authors.
It's been a pleasure and an honor to be able to work on that project with you guys. I really want to thank you for that.
Well, we're honored to have you. Now, Glenn Corbett was the senior coordinating editor, and Glenn's putting all the materials together. Mm-hmm. And what did you write on for the book?
I wrote the chapter on building construction. We looked at that chapter and from the firefighter 1 and 2 perspective, and really it really evolves around firefighter safety, especially today, more so than ever because of the way buildings are being constructed. Lighter weight materials, alternate materials, and none of this is friendly for the fire service. So every firefighter from the day he starts his training has to begin his education and training, formal training about building construction, and that has to be perpetual. That can never end as long as that person is a firefighter or fire officer out there.
So what makes the principles book that Fire Engineering is putting out there different from, say, the Essentials book from ISTA or the basic book from, say, Brady or whoever the other folks are?
Well, one of the things that I've tried to do with the building construction chapter is to make it relevant to what they do. We talk about construction, the principles of construction, but then we talk about how fire is going to spread through the building and how that relates to their performance of their duties as a firefighter. We talk about the indicators of collapse and how it affects their fire ground safety and the safety of their brothers on the fire ground. And I think as they move forward in their career, they have to go up to the next step, and as they move up to be an officer, they have to expand their knowledge based on construction. Again, it has to be perpetual learning.
So when you're writing a principles book for a young firefighter, recruit firefighters, what do you expect them to be able to get out of your chapter? At the end of that chapter, once they've become proficient in that chapter, what should they be able to do?
They should be able to recognize the 5 classifications of construction, recognize the hazards associated with each of the classes of construction, recognize some collapse potentials associated with each type of construction. We do talk about new building technologies. Again, relating to fire spread potential, collapse potential. The burn time in the buildings has been significantly reduced since the introduction of lightweight wood trusses, alternate materials, C-channels. All this engineered product has taken the fat out of the building to a point where we're arriving on scene and collapse is imminent because of the burn time. Dimensional lumber, 2x4, 2x10, floor joist. You had fat in the building. Through the engineering process, they've reduced the fat, they've reduced cost, and they're using the material in a most efficient manner. But those things all hurt the fire service because
so they've replaced all that mass with math and geometry.
Exactly.
And so that it all works fine as long as nothing's gone wrong.
Right.
And then we've got problems.
And in nowhere in that equation do they take the fire into consideration. I shouldn't say nowhere, but in most instances, they're not taking that fire into consideration.
And what I also liked when I was looking at some of the early reviews, and particularly your work, is that you talk to the young firefighters and say, look, just because something appears some way on the outside, especially today, doesn't mean that's what's on the inside. The whole facade issue, the whole how they build these buildings, and for all the world, you and I, back in the day, would say, oh, it's an ordinary building. It looks like it's got masonry walls, looks like it has wood rafters, and it's a Butler building behind it.
The designers today intentionally disguise the building to make it look one way, when in fact reality is it's a wood frame building with a brick veneer, or it's a wood frame building with an EFIS type finish, with a cementitious finish on the outside, and that really disguises the buildings. The other thing that's facing, the other challenge with construction is renovations and alterations. They're taking buildings that are 100 years old and doing an interior renovation or an interior gut and replacing the floor joists with lightweight components. Now you pull up to that building and you look up and say, oh, this building's 100 years old. I've got dimensional lumber in here. When in the reality is you don't have dimensional lumber in here. And how do we capture that information for the future generations of the fire service? Somehow through pre-planning, through classifications of our buildings, and knowing your response area is a big part of it also. That's one of the things that we talk about in the book. We try to take the firefighter, with no pun intended, but from the ground up about building construction. So there's a learning process. They have to, understand how the building is constructed so they can understand how the interconnecting voids allow fire spread. And then once fire's in the voids, the next part of the equation is collapse potential.
Well, not to be a heretic or anything, but do you think someday we may have a sixth category? You think someday we
Oh,
may
absolutely.
have the hybrid?
Yeah, there's got to be a hybrid.
There's got to be a hybrid.
You can't look at a building today without, if you really looked at the 5 classes of construction, just about everything out there has got a hybrid, because you've got wood frame buildings where they're adding steel
Right.
to have large spans. You're taking class 2 lightweight buildings and they're adding some lumber in, which may be a code violation, but it's occurring out there.
And even those ultra lightweights now out there.
C-channel buildings where they're replacing structural steel with a C-channel or a structural grade steel stud. Again, there's no mass to that structural element, and if it is exposed to the fire, it's going to fail pretty early on in that fire scenario.
What else are you working on? I know you're still doing tons of editing for us, and the book is
Couple
exciting.
of things. Yeah, concentrating on the book right now, and we'll kind of go from there.
And then now after the book, there's going to be some online component. There's also going to be a DVD teaching series, PowerPoint series, and all of that.
Yeah,
so
looking forward to that.
So this is going to be
working with you guys on that.
Well, this will be exciting. I think this is
Yeah,
going to
it
go a
is.
long way, and I
so.
think that we've got a tremendous opportunity here to take the training of the fire service from the cradle to the grave, so to speak, within the fire engineering community, which is really the serious
Absolutely.
training community of the American Fire Service.
Absolutely.
I think the other groups, God bless them, the gravitas has always been within this community, and we're really proud to have you on that project.
I certainly appreciate it and proud to be here.
Well, Paul, we know you got other things to do here at FDIC. We know you're probably having a great time, and
Absolutely.
we look forward to seeing you again. You'll be teaching for us again next year.
I certainly hope so.
We appreciate that. I'm Bobby Halton. We're on the road. You be careful out there.